They didn't need evidence. They didn't need a confession. All they needed was a quiet black girl, in the wrong place at the wrong time. On a cold October morning, Amina Booker, just 17, was led into the courtroom in handcuffs, accused of murder. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She was silent, like someone who had already accepted she'd be buried alive by the system. The court ruled life without parole. No one protested. No one defended her. But then she looked up and said 4 words. I want to call. The courthouse in Claiborne County, Louisiana, was as cracked and tired as the beliefs it had upheld for generations. Old wooden pews creaked under the weight of townspeople packed shoulder to shoulder. They weren't there for justice. They were there for confirmation. Confirmation that the girl in the defendant's chair was guilty, because she looked like she should be. Amina Booker sat motionless, hands folded in her lap. Her eyes were fixed on a hairline crack in the courtroom floor. Her shirt, once white, was wrinkled and stained with dried blood, not hers, but from being dragged to the drunk tank 2 nights earlier. No family beside her, no private lawyer. Her court-appointed attorney, Mr. Carlyle, was a relic, disbarred once for negligence, rumored to have nodded off during trials. Today, he brought an empty briefcase and a wrist that smelled like cigarettes and regret. Amina had not spoken since her arrest, not because she had nothing to say, but because she knew no one was listening. They didn't want the truth. They wanted a name to close the file. Open file fold of the case file was painfully thin. One Latino store clerk shot dead behind the counter. A grainy surveillance clip of a figure in a hoodie running away. A homeless man who said, I think I've seen that girl before. No DNA. No fingerprints. No eyewitnesses. So why was Amina arrested? Because she was near the scene. And because she was the only black girl within a mile when it happened. Does the defendant have any final words? Judge Malone asked, flat, detached, like he was reading from a grocery list. Amina looked up. For the first time during the trial, she met his eyes. No, Your Honor, she said, calm and clear. The prosecutor smirked. The gavel fell. The court sentences Amina Booker to life without the possibility of parole. The wood-on-wood crack echoed like a coffin being nailed shut. Amina didn't cry. But somewhere in the back row, a young girl gasped and began to weep. Maybe a classmate. Maybe someone who had seen this happen too many times before. Another black girl devoured by the machine. Back in Dindex pointing right. But what no one in that courtroom knew was that this story wasn't over. Amina was about to make a call that would crack the system wide open. The gavel had barely fallen when the courtroom froze in silence. A few nodded, satisfied. To them, justice had been served. 2 guards moved toward Amina, ready to escort her away. But before they could reach her, she stood. She didn't cry. She didn't raise her voice. She simply looked the judge in the eye and said, I want to make a phone call. The air shifted instantly. That's not procedure. Judge Malone frowned. Post-verdict calls aren't within your rights. Amina didn't flinch. Neither is convicting someone with no evidence, no witnesses, and no real defense. So let's not pretend rules matter now. The room went silent again. For a moment, Malone just stared at her. Then, almost against his better judgment, he gestured to the guard. Take her to the witness room. 5 minutes. The room was no larger than a closet. Dust clung to a beige wall-mounted phone that probably hadn't rung in years. A dirty mirror hid a one-way camera. Amina pulled out a tiny piece of paper hidden in her shoe. She dialed. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, Zora, it's me. Amina? The voice on the other end froze. Oh my God, are you okay? They just sentenced me. Life. No evidence. No defense. I need you now. The voice changed. Zora Booker, 34, was an investigative journalist and former Washington Post reporter, now working independently for a platform that exposed legal corruption. Judge's name? Malone. Prosecutor? Tucker. Court-appointed lawyer? Carlyle. The sound of furious typing filled the line. Okay, Zora said. I just sent out the red alert. You're not alone, and they'll regret letting you make this call. When Amina returned to the courtroom, something had changed. A courthouse clerk whispered into a reporter's ear. A local cameraman quietly turned on his phone. The machine had started turning, ready to crush her. But this time, someone stood in its path. Just hours after the verdict, a post appeared on X, formerly Twitter, from the account of Zora Truth. A 17-year-old black girl sentenced to life in prison. No evidence, no witnesses, no real defense. Her name is Amina Booker, and I'm her cousin. I won't let this be buried. Within 3 hours, the post racked up over 2 million views. Mainstream outlets were slow to respond. But the independent media wasn't silent. YouTube channels like The Grey Room, NoJustice.tv, and True Court Files uploaded breakdowns of the trial footage. Within 24 hours, hashtag Justice for Amina trended globally. Zora went further. She posted a copy of the sentencing transcript, screenshot of the courtroom video, and most importantly, a leaked surveillance clip showing that the hoodie-wearing suspect had a distinct wrist tattoo. Amina didn't. Open file folder meanwhile, inside Judge Malone's office. He stared blankly at the headline on his monitor. Breaking. The Amina Booker trial. Justice served or a scripted sham? His assistant rushed in. Sir, the DOJ is asking if you want to issue a statement before they launch a formal misconduct review. A drop of sweat rolled down his cheek. Telephone receiver meanwhile, at a Brooklyn cafe. A man in a hoodie watched the chaos unfold across a screen. He pulled up an old video. 12-year-old Amina giving a speech on school inequality at a local youth summit. That spark, she still has it. He opened an encrypted message thread and typed, Activate Black Vault. Targets, Malone. Tucker. Carlisle. His name was Micah, a once-hunted hacker who had escaped the FBI's grasp. Now, he worked from the shadows, exposing judicial corruption one case at a time. Loudspeaker back in Louisiana. Outside the courthouse, a group of law students set up camp. They held signs that read, No evidence equals state-sanctioned injustice. Police started circling. Inside her cell, Amina, now in solitary pending transfer, had no idea the world was shifting. That night, Zora went live on the show of famed journalist Charlotte Queen. I'm not just Amina's cousin. I'm a witness to how a system designed to protect can be weaponized to destroy. And we won't be silent. Tuesday, 4 a.m., Brooklyn, New York. Inside a cramped Brooklyn apartment, Micah sat hunched in front of 3 glowing monitors, his eyes bloodshot, the blue light painting his face with exhaustion. His fingers moved fast, decrypting internal criminal records from the Louisiana state system. All forensics match. Except this, he whispered. One file caught his eye, ballistic_report__loan PDF. It was a doctored report. The original analysis clearly stated the bullet at the crime scene did not match any weapon linked to Amina Booker, but the version submitted to court had key pages missing. Micah knew what he needed, a whistleblower. Magnifying glass still to the right. Meanwhile, Louisiana Forensics Lab. Clarence Brower, the seasoned forensic analyst, woke to his phone buzzing relentlessly. A text from an unknown number. You never signed that report. You don't want to be part of this. It's time. We can protect you. Attached was a clip from Amina's sentencing. The silence, the verdict, the call. Clarence stared at it. His heart pounded. He remembered. He had refused to sign that report. Someone replaced it. Classical Building, meanwhile, Civil Rights Law Office, D.C. Elaine Farrow, nationally renowned civil rights attorney, was just finishing dinner when her assistant placed a folder on her desk. You want to see this? Amina Booker, life sentence. No solid evidence. Just a hoodie and her skin color. Elaine flipped through the file, watched the courtroom video. She closed her laptop slowly. I'm taking this case. No one's paying us. I don't need money. I need justice. Loudspeaker on the ground, Jefferson Parish Courthouse. Zora stood before a small crowd, live streaming on student law channels. You don't have to believe Amina's innocent. Just ask yourself, why no real investigation? Why no proper defense? Why does silence cost a lifetime? In the crowd, an old man wiped his eyes. A teenage boy clenched his fist. Inside the courthouse, an anonymous clerk hit send on a file marked confidential_audio_recording.wave. Telephone receiver at a federal detention center. Amina lay on her bunk, eyes on the stained ceiling. The hallway light flickered above. She had no idea that a hacker was exposing the truth. A forensics analyst was stepping forward. A legendary lawyer had taken her case. But still she believed. "I'm not alone anymore," she whispered. Friday, 9 a.m., U.S. District Court, New Orleans. The courtroom was packed. Standing room only. It wasn't the cold chamber of her sentencing. Now, every seat was filled with journalists, law students, human rights activists, and ordinary citizens. Seated at the defense table, Amina looked calm. But this time, she wasn't alone. Beside her stood Elaine Farrow, legal titan of civil rights defense. In her hand, a bright red folder labeled Motion to Reopen Case. A. Booker. Balance scale, Farrow rose. "Your Honor, we present 3 pieces of irrefutable evidence. 1. The original ballistic report proves the bullet didn't match any weapon linked to Ms. Booker. 2. A forensic analyst is prepared to testify the report was altered. 3. New video shows the shooter had a tattoo on their wrist. Ms. Booker does not." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Adult medical symbol, first witness, Clarence Brower. Dressed plainly, he stepped into the witness box. "I was ordered to revise the original forensic report. They threatened reassignment. But I can't stay silent anymore." The prosecution visibly recoiled. Film projector next the video. Security cam footage restored. The shooter in a black hoodie runs out of the store. Under the street lamp, his right wrist flashes clearly. A skull tattoo. Amina stood, lifted her sleeves. Bare wrists. "I have nothing to hide." Collision, then a voice from the back of the room. "His name is Trayvon McCall. I protected him before, but I can't anymore." All heads turned. A young man in a baseball cap stood trembling, but firm. A new witness. Megaphone the courtroom shifted. The judge flipped through documents, whispering to his clerk. Reporters typed furiously. Someone whispered, "This could unravel half the state's convictions." Farrow leaned to Amina and said, "This is a first real step, but it's only the beginning." Amina smiled, the first time in months. Sunday, CNN national broadcast, 8 p.m. On screen, a replay of Amina Booker sitting silently in court. For the first time, it bore the headline, 17-year-old black girl sentenced to life with no evidence. Now a retrial is underway. Famed host Darnell Reeves looked straight into the camera. Tonight, America must confront a hard question. If an innocent girl can be buried by the justice system, then who among us is truly safe? Classical building, meanwhile, U.S. Department of Justice, Washington, D.C. An internal report landed on a senior desk. Recommendation: open federal investigation into Jefferson Parish Court, including Judge Malone, Prosecutor Tucker, Sheriff Carlisle. A supervisor muttered under his breath, "This is shaping up to be our generation's Central Park 5. Mobile phone on social media. Hashtag Justice for Amina surpassed 50 million mentions. Celebrities, politicians, professors spoke out. A viral 2-minute clip compared the tattooed shooter from surveillance footage with Amina's clean wrists. Over 20 million views in 6 hours. A freestyle rap by Kendrick Blaze echoed across the nation. She was quiet, but her truth was loud. And now the system shakes, crowd by crowd. Adult laptop computer Micah, the anonymous hacker. From a hidden bunker, Micah pressed send. All evidence of cover-up now forwarded to DOJ. "I'm out, but truth has ears now." He powered down the machine. The first time in 5 years, he left his keyboard feeling at peace. Adult balance scale. Meanwhile, Judge Malone subpoenaed. The news broke. Judge Malone, Tucker, and Carlisle were all suspended pending investigation. Cameras caught Malone exiting his chambers. His tie askew, hands trembling. Reporters swarmed. "Do you have anything to say to Amina's family? Do you deny tampering with the forensic reports?" He said nothing. The car door slammed shut. Candle that night, a vigil in New Orleans. Zora stood before hundreds holding candles. "We don't fight for revenge. We fight to right the wrong." Because for every Amina today, there's a future stolen if we stay silent. A little girl whispered to her mom, "Can I be a lawyer like Zora?" The mom teared up. "Not just a lawyer, baby. You can change the world." Pushpin next. Chapter 7, the final retrial. The true shooter confesses. The courtroom explodes. Amina finally walks into the light. Thursday, 8 a.m., U.S. Eastern District Court, Louisiana. This wasn't the same courtroom Amina was sentenced in. This time, every seat was filled. Law students, national media, even international observers. Case title: United States versus Jefferson Parish. Retrial of Amina Booker. Microphone attorney Elaine Farrow stood before the judge. "Your Honor, today is not just a retrial. Today is a reckoning for a system that lets silence become a sentence. But justice has a voice, and today it will be heard." Megaphone key witness, Trayvon McCall. The courtroom froze as a young man took the stand. He wore a hoodie and on his wrist, a visible skull tattoo, just like in the video. His voice shook, but he stood firm. "I was the one who fired the shot. Amina never knew me. I wore my cousin's hoodie. Same style as hers. I ran. I thought no one would dig deep. I was right." Murmurs. Someone gasped. Adult balance scale, the judge's decision. No deliberation. No delays. The court hereby vacates the life sentence against Amina Booker. Orders criminal investigation of Malone, Tucker, and Carlisle. Orders immediate detainment of Trayvon McCall. Amina stood stunned. Elaine guided her to rise. Sunrise Amina walks out. The Louisiana sun blazed across the courthouse steps. She blinked against the light, as if seeing color for the first time in years. Below her, the crowd erupted. Zora ran up, hugged her, sobbing. "I knew you'd survive, but you did more than that. You woke up America." Amina looked to the sky. A bird soared above. She whispered, "No more silence." At a small rural high school, a teacher calls roll. Amina Booker? A girl stands. White shirt, law books clutched in hand, eyes glowing. "Present, ma'am." Amina didn't just walk free. She became a symbol, and the words she once whispered, "I'm not alone anymore," were etched into the stone archway of a new legal institute in D.C., the Amina Booker Center for Justice.